And he has no power.
Great timing. But the show must go on. So got back up.
Oh yeah, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to episode 111 of Cali Brick Clique. And we have the usual suspects, of course, Shy all the time. Running the
how's
show.
it going?
We have Claire.
Hi, guys.
There she is. She's still here. And a special guest this week, we have Jay of Jay's Brick Blog.
Hey, how's it going? Long time listener, first time caller. Very excited to be here. Thanks for having me on.
It's cool to have you like in a media, like visual media video space / audio.
Yeah, this is completely out of my comfort zone because I just type from a keyboard on a website. You know, that's my jam. So this is new, but it's exciting.
Wow. So if you're not familiar with Jay, he is the creator of Jay's Brick Blog, obviously, which is a reference point for anyone who needs Lego news in like the blog format, which we're going to get into in a second. But Jay, who are you?
Who am I? Who am I?
Lego wise, you don't have to get like total deep, but like unless you want to.
Oh, I can go deep. Yeah, I'm Jay. I run Jay's Brick Blog. You might have seen me on the internet or on social media. I've been doing this blogging thing for like almost 10 years, over 10 years now, I think. So it's a bit of an archaic format, you know, who does websites in this day and age, but still here, still creating content. It's a different type of content from, I guess, the usual, you know, Instagram or YouTube or social media. But yeah, it's been ticking along. I'm in my like mid-30s, I think. Yeah, mid-30s. Had a bit of a dark age like everyone else. I grew up with a ton of Lego. I was born in Malaysia. I moved to Australia to study, met my wife here, and decided to settle down here. So yeah, had a bit of a dark age in between. You know, picked up Lego in like 2011, 2012, and it all went downhill from there.
Like I say, downhill on that
downhill. So like this is my life now.
Yeah, it's always downhill.
I guess so. What was the set that brought you back?
Ooh, 3833 Krusty Krab Adventures.
That's a good one. I
know. Most people have like this cool story of like, oh, I went into a Lego store, I picked up a modular building, I picked up the cafe corner, and then
or like Star Wars or something, some ship or whatever. Yeah. No, I like that. That's still like a specific IP that has a nostalgia factor.
Yeah.
And then, like, what made you keep going is the thing. Because there's the thing, a lot of people are buying sets now, but there's like something else that happens. There's something that clicks.
I had just finished like university, and I had just started like my job, so I had like actual disposable income. Well, some of it, not a lot. I was working in Malaysia at the time, and you know, Malaysia's a third world country, so the currency and the buying power isn't that strong. So like Lego used to cost a lot, so couldn't afford any modulars or any of those creator expert sets. But yeah, Krusty Krab Adventures was a small enough set. It was fun. I like most people, I grew up loving Lego. I didn't have a lot of Lego, but I've always loved Lego. I had a bit of a dark age, and I don't know. I just decided I needed like a new hobby that wasn't like video or computer games. And I'd been watching a lot of SpongeBob at the time. It was kind of like cute to have like a Lego SpongeBob minifigure, and yeah, got me in. And I decided that hey, this is kind of a cool niche underground hobby to have. It wasn't like super mainstream then, but yeah, it kind of scratched the nostalgia itch for me.
So you bought your first set was in Malaysia. That's when you bought it.
No, it's actually in Australia. So my wife bought it for me as a gift. And I decided, all right, I'm gonna start collecting like Lego now. Like I had always like kept my eye on like Lego, and every now and then I just walk into like a toy store just to kind of see what was up. But yeah, just decided to pull the trigger there.
Okay. The only reason I asked that question of why if it was in Malaysia or was in Australia, is because we don't really know much as far as what's happening in the Asian market in like media platforms. I mean, there's like maybe a few people we can tap into, but there's really not much going on. And for me, at least in my analytics, I know there's some other people that have shared their like where their people are watching them from. Philippines is like a good chunk of it. It's not like a huge chunk, but it's notable to be like more than 1% watching of your audience. So, but but you bought your set, like, I was presuming you bought it in Malaysia. So you bought it like, early teens. like 2000 teens. And then like, so there must have been a presence at that one point. So I was just curious to know if you know anything, because we know Lego now has a huge representation in China. There are stores literally all over Asia, but like how big the Lego scene is like there. I know you're not in it, but I was just curious if you knew.
Yeah, it's small. So I think, as growing up, there was, Lego was always a presence. So they've always had a presence there, but it was so expensive just because the currency was so weak against like the US dollar. Like the minimum wage of purchasing power isn't as high as, say, someone as in a Western country. So, people like to say that Lego's expensive, but if you've grown up in like a third world or developing country, like you have no idea just how expensive it is. Like I'm a parent now. I've got 2 kids, and I think back to my like mom who bought me my first like Lego set, and I'm like, how did you afford it? I never had any of the big sets growing up. Didn't have any castles. I've had those like small, tiny sets. I think the biggest set that I ever bought was like the Aqua Zone like sub. But yeah, even then, like I'm like right now, I'm just like amazed at like the fact that my mom like bought those Lego sets. My mom and dad bought those Lego sets for me because like it would have costed them a bomb.
That's what shocks me, because I just recently came back. Well, I didn't recently. Like a couple months ago, I came back from Mexico, and like the prices for the Lego sets there were not significantly higher, but higher than they are here in the United States. And I'm like, wait, there's a factory literally in this country. The transportation cost from one spot to another isn't that much of an overhead change. Like, why is it so much? I think, Claire, you might have like answered the question somewhere there, but I don't remember what it was.
I mean, like most things cost less here. So, and I think
is it the buying power? I'm presuming.
Well, I mean, the dollar is really strong, and it has been for quite a while. And like in general, like it fluctuates, especially like relative to the euro and the pound and stuff. But like it's been, if you really think about it, like I think about all my family who like they come to visit from all over Europe, South America, Australia, and we take them to Costco, and they go crazy, like just like buying toothpaste or going like if you go to Sephora
makes sense.
Right now, like in any big tourist area, it's like, and like I was just in Disney Springs Sephora, and it's like full of Argentinians and Brazilians like screaming because we're freaking out here in the United States with what like. It was 8% inflation, and now it's like 6%, and we're trying to get to 2%. But like Argentina is like 90% inflation. So like a lot of these countries, like we have the IRS who like, actually has a relatively decent handle on things relative to everything else. And most countries' economic markets are based on hours. And so that's like a big thing. But, one of the reasons like China is becoming so powerful is because of the like increased rise in the middle class and the upper class there. So their purchasing power is increasing. I think also what ends up happening is like rent and all sorts of stuff for like these storefronts is really difficult for them as well. And so like it costs so much more. So that trickle down effect into the final product is a lot higher. That's like my very rudimentary economic analysis without doing really quite any research.
No, that makes sense. Like I was thinking that their margins are, because Lego margins are so low for a lot of like retailers here in the United States that are not Target or Walmart or any large big box store. Like if you're a toy store, like a mom and pop toy shop, our Lego stores here are like the Lego they sell here are a lot more expensive. So I presume I was just presuming that might be the case. I was just in shock to see.
There's also things like import tax or like duties. Like some countries just kind of slug like imports with really high taxes and import duties, especially if it's like a Scandinavian fancy toy for like well-to-do families. Like it's not a necessity. So to protect the local toy industry or manufacturing.
There might not be like any, because it's not a necessity, there might not be any laws like protecting it from going over certain prices and stuff like that. So it like it's kind of like a crazy free market. And so I mean there's a very good reason why I didn't grow up with it, and like I think my parents, they were never struggling or whatever. I think it was kind of just like an objectively difficult thing for them to spend money on, something that they thought I would be over possibly in a few months. I mean, when you're a parent, like think about how quickly your kids go through phases and clothes and things like that. Everything is like just straight garbage, essentially what you're buying. It's like in one ear out the other immediately, right? So it's like, how are you supposed to justify, buying toys like that are premium, or clothes that are premium or whatever. So
Clothes that are premium, like why?
yeah, like
Shoes.
designer baby shoes make no sense. Like my mom's like, I remember she was just like, you wore socks, like why you weren't even walking? Why do you need like fancy shoes? Yeah.
No, not necessary whatsoever.
Yeah.
I think we have we have 2 fancy shoes for Ezra, none for Luna. And the fancy shoes were Chucks and Converse or Cortez's.
Hey,
Nothing
Chucks
else.
are pretty fancy though.
She'll
They
get the
just hang-
hand-me-down. She'll get the hand-me-downs.
Yeah, no, but I
once
mean, they wore it once, but mainly it was like, I think the shoes were more for the wife and I, like, just
Yeah,
to
it's always
have as
like
a
that. It's
token.
for the parents. Yeah.
And it's not for them, like but for the most part, he was in. Both my kids were in socks the entire time. When they were babies, but yeah, I just wanted to bring that up. I was just curious to know like what's happening in the Asian market, because we don't know, and like on at least that side of the world, most of the media that we are at least in connection with the Lego community as a whole on Instagram and YouTube, and I guess now TikTok, mainly comes from where you're at on that side of the world. There's only a few that like there's like maybe 2 or 3 creators north of you, but there's not that many.
Well, there's some pretty serious.
I mean, they're very small but very passionate groups there. They do a lot of great like exhibitions and shows. Obviously, not to the scale of like Australian shows or the shows in like Europe or the US, but there's a a strong and very passionate community there. And Lego has also been doing a lot in Asia. Like we hear a lot about like China and stuff, but they've also been doing stuff in like Southeast Asia, so Malaysia, Singapore, Philippines. I remember like Malaysia and even like the Philippines got Lego certified stores, so not an official like Lego store, but they got it before Australia. So that's like a Legoland in Malaysia as well. So it's definitely a growing like the developing world is definitely a growing market, especially as more people enter into the middle class and like the standards of living go up. So Lego's a business, so they're gonna always look for growth, and that's a very big kind of like growth market for them.
I mean, it's good to see that side of the world at least like get the fandom going pretty heavily, because they're pretty heavy in other things too, and they have a lot of people do have the income to be able to support this habit, and now more so than ever. So it's just good to see. I'm just curious if you knew, but let's get into Jay's Brick blog for a little bit. Like, what is it?
What is it? It's a blog or it's a website, but blog's kind of like a passé term. It's 2023. Like, who even blogs anymore? Who even like runs a website anymore? But yeah, I've been doing this for about 10 years. If I were to like distill like the purpose of the blog, it's to help it's to help people make better Lego buying decisions. So Lego is like producing tons of stuff. There's like new sets, new announcements, new releases like every other week. Like, it's hard to keep up. So I primarily look to myself as being a provider of quality content for people who want to know what's coming up, and also like set reviews. I love doing set reviews. Like, I started my blog writing set reviews because I wanted to just kind of like produce content and kind of share content around Lego sets that I was buying and that was exciting me. And yeah, kind of just snowballed from there. So yeah, websites in 2023. Who knew?
So I don't know. For me, I think like there's something about having a website for any organization that just kind of solidifies their legitimacy. Yeah. You know what I mean? Outside of YouTube content. So for me, at least, if there's an organization, it doesn't matter what it is, if it's a sole person or an actual group of people or an actual legitimate one, like I do Google a site of some sort, and it makes me comfortable to know that there's something. And I might not watch or see or read everything that they say, but if there's visual like social media content in relation to that organization, it makes me more comfortable to like go onto those Instagrams or YouTubes or TikToks or whatever it is. So I don't feel like it's dead, but like it's
old school. It's very old school.
It's
also like a sign of like the time. So like I started my blog in late 2011.
Oh wow!
So if you rewind to like late 2011, you didn't have like Facebook was just starting out. I think they had just opened it up to people without university email addresses. Like Gen Z is like, what the heck is that? But like Twitter was just born. Like Twitter was like a few years old then, and so we didn't have like Instagram, like Facebook, like brands using Facebook wasn't a thing. And that era was a lot of there were a lot of blogs and like websites, because that was essentially a space that you could own on the internet. And I think one of the benefits that I really like about a website is that it's mine. So when we're not so much at the whim of, say, like a TikTok or like YouTube or Instagram algorithm, where you're so reliant on them to kind of push your content out or help with discovery, whereas a website is kind of your own. So you build like an email list, you build you build a brand, and people come back to visit websites regularly. So it's kind of my own thing, and like it's quite nice that I can communicate with my community almost one-on-one, and not have to rely on, why is YouTube like nerfing my reach? Why are my subscribers not seeing my content? So yeah, it's kind of like owning a home on the internet versus, say, like renting on like YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, whatever. Because
So before this episode, I literally scoured like what's happening to blogs on YouTube. Like where is this going? And a lot of people, a lot of bloggers on there, at least all the videos that I watched, were saying that blogging is, obviously the thumbnail's like blogging's dead or whatever, blah blah blah. But when you actually watch the video from that clickbait, you see that it's not necessarily like done. It's still there. It's just that everyone has to kind of take a different approach to how to bring people to the platforms or websites, just because of the Google, searches that are out there. So like, your site might always get recommended in that, search, whatever, I forget what it's called, but to have other ways of bringing people to your site, like Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, whatever, any of the current social medias that everybody's on, is to pull those people over. Like, are you able to like gauge like your site as far as like how it's doing this past year in comparison to your previous years within the new social medias?
Yeah, I think like growth wise, it's been fairly consistent, but I guess that's because I've been essentially just doing it as a hobby and doing it for fun. So I have about 10 years of experience working like digital marketing, social media, e-commerce, all that kind of stuff. So that was my main gig, and I was just doing the blog as as a hobby. I wanted to just keep my like writing skills sharp. I just enjoyed writing about Lego, so that was always like a because I was doing a lot of writing and a lot of social media for my day job, and I want to keep those skills like sharp, but at the same time do it on something that I really enjoy and something that I was truly passionate about. And it's gotten me here. Growth wise, it's hard because like so much of Lego and like the Lego community on like Instagram and TikTok, like 2020 onwards was just a huge like explosive growth. So like the numbers just kind of crazy, because there's just so much more people that are into Lego, discovering Lego, coming back into Lego, looking for stuff, looking for information. So numbers have been good since like the pandemic times. But again, I've also been putting out a lot more content since the pandemic as well. So I'm not sure if it's a me thing, but I also think it's just the Lego community has just grown so much because of they're focusing on adults now. They've just gone out of control with like their launches and product releases. So yeah, riding the wave, as they say.
I mean, your blog's obviously successful. Lego recognizes it, right? You're a part of land, through blogging. And like, there was a minute here where like we're trying to find a relevancy for blogs, and I feel like personally that there is, because like I said, I want like hard text sometimes, and when I want to reference something, it's for me at least, it's a lot easier for me to like skim through an article or a post or whatever if it's in text format, and like really understand like what the idea is that the author is trying to say, versus trying to interpret like sometimes what people say in a video, which I have to like literally listen through the entire time. I can't skim through unless I'm going times 2 double. I mean, your blog was like literally the first media format to shout our podcast out. So I just want to throw that out there too. I remember that post like 5 podcasts you should be listening to or something back then. I remember that. I was like, hey, we kind of made it.
Yeah, it almost minimizes you. And like
you guys produce a great show. So I've listened to nearly all of your episodes, and again, similarly for someone in Australia, because Lego is such a it's a very Eurocentric brand, and because the community in the US is it's grown quite a lot. So it's I really enjoy listening to your perspective as well. about what's going on in the US, going to shows, how content creators are trying to make a living through it, and also like the fact that for me personally, I think it's very important to get a variety of views and to listen and read and consume content from like non-land people as well, because it's just it just helps me build a better understanding of what's going on in the community. And you guys are on the pulse, so yeah.
Oh, yay, we're doing it, guys. No, I just get being consistent. I'm happy that it's getting attention in random places of this Lego space, I guess. So what are your like goals with your site?
I think for me, it's I'm always looking to grow, but I'm at a stage now where this is essentially like my full-time job. So I am just trying to build like discipline to keep things consistent and just kind of get better at producing content. So being a lot more consistent with articles, with reviews, and not taking too much time off. And just keeping up what I do, and produce more content, because there's just so much appetite for good Lego content out there. So just trying to keep doing what I do, keep doing better.
That's the cool part, is like sometimes it feels like there's only so much. You get these moments, at least I do, I don't know, that you get these moments you're like, well, like, why do Lego content? It's like so limiting. It's like this one thing, it's whatever. But then, separate from them coming out with like new sets or whatever, there's so many different ways to articulate the subject matter, the events that are going on, the mocks that you can do, and then also just bringing new people into the hobby. It's always great to see new perspectives. So
yeah. And I think for me, a big I would say like my editorial focus is to be on the opposite spectrum of like clickbait. So I'm trying to not just post a few photos up, here's the price, here's the set name, here's an affiliate link, that's all. I'm trying to give my opinion. I'm trying to help educate people on Lego sets, kind of pointing out whether this is a good buy or not, what are the cool features here. And for me, that's a big motivator, because I want to just create actual useful content that's not just like lazy thin content, if that makes sense. So that's a big motivation for me, because at the end of the day, I want to write articles, I want to produce content that I myself would want to consume. So I try to look through the eyes of like my readers, but also myself as a Lego fan and a consumer, and go, what kind of articles do I want to read? Do I want to go like the whole BuzzFeed top 10 Lego sets under $50, or do I want to produce long form substantial content that's that people resonate with, and most importantly, I think, find value.
I think, it's important to like respect yourself and the work that you do. I think it's kind of soul sucking if you don't, also like your longevity ends up taking like a pretty serious attack. We talk a lot about content here, and creating content and just all the motivations and stuff that go into it. But there's nothing more, I think, draining for like a creative person to produce something or create something that they don't like. And I think it makes like a hill that you have to get over so much bigger. It's just this cycle that you create for yourself. And I think that's really key. Also, if like you're not consuming, if you wouldn't consume the content that you're creating, how can you have the audacity to create it? Do you know what I mean? I think it's like kind of like, it's like, who the hell do you think you are? If you're making something that you wouldn't even consume, like why? I don't know why. There's like something distasteful and dishonest about it a little bit, I think. I don't know.
It's authenticity. And I think that, no matter the medium, I feel like that's very apparent, because, Lego fans, they're not dumb. They can tell when, someone's really passionate about something. And that's why the best content creators, do so well, because number one, they're passionate about what they do. They love it. And, they also love the content, because it's you gotta love what you do. Like, even sometimes when it's not rewarding, you just gotta love doing what you do, because, that's what the hobby is about.
So do you find your blog rewarding?
Yes. Yeah. I think, yes. It's, I primarily like writing reviews, because that's what started my blog. Some people don't like reviews, and I think that's totally valid, because it's not for everyone. And from an like ROI perspective, like reviews are hard work, like even like a video review or like a blog review, I'm spending like 6 to 8 hours like on average for each review. And you just gotta love doing it. If not, you just get like burnt out. So I kind of enjoy doing that, and people, my community, my readers, really enjoy the content that I produce as well. So again, that's very rewarding for me. Like you gotta love it. If not, it's just not sustainable for any type of content creator if you're creating content that you don't personally enjoy and find fulfillment in.
I feel like it takes a lot of work, and I kind of respect that, to be able to like write something in like text form and ensure that it's obviously it's grammatically correct and makes sense. But you're able to convey emotion at the same time. It's not super dry and it's also concise. Like I think that's a total different thing that I feel like a lot of people in the YouTube or like social media current space of like Instagram, TikTok have no idea, or can barely like tap into, because there's some writing into this, but not to the extent of what you do. Like, what's your process in like creating something as far as like
I think it's different. Like it's different mediums, because YouTube's very engaging. It's very visual. Sometimes I write a review and I go like, this would have been so much better if I can like show it off on camera. I'm doing like photography, so I have to be very intentional with like the shots that I take. Whereas like with a video, you can convey a lot of visual information very efficiently. So I think it's different. Like looking on YouTube, like a lot of it is it's very entertainment based, but at the same time there's some people that produce really good like video essays or long form YouTube content that takes a lot of work to do as well. So it's just a different medium. Whereas I think with blogs, you have to think about the type of person that might visit a blog, and I think it might be a generational thing, because we're old enough that we can read and we're used to like
we can write in cursive still.
We can hold our attention for more than like a 6-second like TikTok. But again, like it's
I would like to say though, I do feel like we created, like our set of generation created that the issue for Gen Z. Like we created those platforms, and then now we like totally judge them for needing like that visual stimulation constantly. But yeah, I mean, I think we created the monster.
Like short form video, like Reels or TikTok, that's hard work. Like that's a completely different skill set. So outside of the blog, I'm fairly active on Instagram. I started getting active on like TikTok, say like last year, just to kind of try it out. At my core, I'm a creative. I love creating. So to be able to kind of learn a new platform is daunting, but I also enjoy the challenge and the work that goes into like a concise TikTok or Instagram reel that grabs your attention. There's a lot of work that goes into it. You got to be like in touch with the trends and the sounds. Like I look at like say like Amasaurus, like Emily, and the work that she does. Like she's incredible. Like, and that's a whole different like skill set that I don't have and I'm not good at. So
you gotta watch TikTok like 5 hours a day.
I try to avoid TikTok and spending too much time there, because I go down and I'm like 2 hours later I look up and like, where did that time go?
Yeah, that happens. So how do you bring that generation to your blog?
Look, I've been enjoying like creating like short form content, and to me that's a challenge. But I recently did like a reader survey, because I wanted to find out who is exactly reading my blog, and quite a significant chunk are in that 18 to 25 age group as well. I look at my analytics; they make up like 20 to 30%. So again, we like to make like we like to create stereotypes about how Gen Z doesn't read and stuff like that, but they actually do consume content. So again, we're millennials, we're unfairly tarred by boomers for being like lazy, and let's just not do the same thing to Gen Z, because
good point. No, I think blogs, like if you go into someone's blog, it's very intentional, right? Like I'm going there specifically because of what I think you're going to say, and you have the information that I need. Whereas a lot of like social media, like TikToks, Instagram reels, and like YouTube, there is that obviously, because there's like some videos like you're scouring through it to look for this type of information, but a lot of it is recommended. So like
Yep.
you'll be like, oh, I guess I'll click on this video. So like I feel like people who are going to your blog they want to know what you have to say about this one specifically. So that is an advantage that you have with your own readers. But like I'm curious to see like how do you maintain, like what is your strategy in maintaining that return, like having them come back?
I think it just goes back to producing good content. Like if you produce good content and people recognize that it's good content, useful content, they'll come back. Obviously, like Google's a big, like for like websites and blogs, Google's a big traffic driver because, like you said, people are researching Lego sets. Because to be honest, like it's hard to keep up with Lego. Like we're like in this, and we know when like stuff releases, what the price is. But for your average consumer, so Shai, you've managed like a Lego store before. The average person that goes in does not know. They have no idea what's coming up until they see it like suggested to them on Instagram or someone tells them about it.
I stepped away from a little bit of it. Like I stepped away from Instagram for like a little bit, and I wasn't searching Lego leaks, in the morning just to see like what was going on. I just wasn't doing the things that we do. And I remember Sans would be like, did you see this? Did you see that? And I would say no. And I had no idea when I don't know when gifts with purchases are coming out anymore, which is like, to me, like I'm a different person, just because I'm like busy and like doing other stuff. And like, I know I'll get back to it, but I can only imagine. And I'm still like, I live with someone who's like, very much also into the hobby. And it's so easy to step away from it. So I can only imagine how little people know. My favorite is like when I get text messages from my friends that I've like kind of converted into a hobby that like will buy like, 1 or 2 sets a year or something like that. And they're like, this looks cool. And it's like something we've known about for like 6 months or something like that. They're like, did you see this came out? Everyone gets that like Facebook post or whatever gets recommended to them, but it's like so much later than when we find out about it. I kind of feel like a little bit of them sometimes.
Yeah. And I think like being like so deep into the community, you kind of don't think about the average consumer. So again, going back to like the content that I create, like I'm trying to also think about people who are new to Lego, who are coming back to Lego, because I was in that position too. And you're like looking for information. You're looking for like, where do I buy this? I saw those like cool Lego flowers on like TikTok. Rihanna posted about them. I want to get it too. And like any like deep, sort of like nerdy, geeky hobby, like this hobby goes like deep, and people are coming back into Lego. People are discovering Lego for the first time, every day. So it's we take these kind of things for granted because we're so like on the ball when it comes to like news and releases. But for the average person, like for someone that doesn't think about Lego like every minute of every day, it's very weird what we do.
Oh yeah. I mean, let alone like the mass consumerism, but just like also staying up like on the news and the drama and like, what gets canceled or what gets announced or like what is dreams? Like, does anyone know? You know what I mean? Like things like that. Like it's just like kind of staying on top of that stuff. And then also the like I think like if you step back and really look at the macro level, like people can kind of understand and like apply different fandom tropes to it, just like other things. But also like we are still smaller, like you compare it, like there's the craziness of like Funko and like car collecting or Disney things. And there's just like, there's so many fandoms out there. And honestly, I feel like they're all getting more notoriety or like they're all kind of coming to surface. Like when that you can like walk into a Walmart and like the fandom that you're part of like can be like consumed and satisfied with like something at a big box store, that means it's relatively mainstream to some degree, right?
Or even things like Pokemon cards, like that's gotten like huge. And I've got a few friends who are into that stuff, and they are so deep into it. They know like the active value of a newly released card, and like that's like arcane knowledge. Like I like Pokemon cards. I buy them occasionally, but if you were to ask me what this new alt art costs on the secondary market, I'll be like, I don't know.
Right.
Dude, both my kids are into like both kids, even Luna, are both into Pokemon cards right now. It's so bad. I'm happy that it's a lot cheaper than Lego.
But like, is that like because of
less,
some YouTube video they saw? Like, what is driving their interest?
It's a combination of that, and Ezra watches a lot of Pokemon like shows and stuff like that. Like, I think the card was what got him interested because of school, because his friends talk about Pokemon cards. So then, in his like short time frame that he's allowed to watch YouTube, he looked up Pokemon cards, and then all this boom just got fed to his face, and then he started watching the show, and then now he's really into the show, and now it's like that's his like goal in life, is to be able to convince me to get him another pack of cards, and I have no idea what I'm buying. I have no idea what the difference is between like Ninja. You're gonna have to give me like a school like rundown of like what's technically I should be buying.
I'm gonna have to break it down now. Okay,
dude, it's a hot mess. There's like so much out there. But
I was just thinking that because like we talk about how Lego releases so much stuff, but like with Pokemon cards, it's like every month or like every 2 months there's a new set of like 200 cards. It gets crazy.
Either way, I'm just happy that it's not super expensive, and I can kind of regulate how much and what I buy with them. I don't know. See, the other part of me is just like the collector in me is like, does this have value? Should you be playing with this the way you guys are playing with it? Like just flicking them in the air. I'm like, no, yeah. They put them in sleeves or in like their own binders, and they'll, I'm starting to teach them how to trade, like, all that kind of stuff. So the Pokeball card thing, I don't know why it's recently brought that up, but they're really into it right now too. It's kind of bad.
It is.
But you see, like most, like I would say, like the vast majority of like Lego fans are exactly like that. Like they don't know when this new set is coming out. How many cards are in this new set, which, what are their pull rates, they like the resale value, they like, it's just too much information. Like there's like a really popular like bell graph, like about like, the one with like the early adopters, the like the laggards, the mass market, and most people are kind of in that middle group where, they're not the cutting edge of like new information and new releases, but they like it enough that they will partake in it, but not obsessively consume and kind of live in that community 24/7, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So yeah,
know about sets that are coming out 3 months later.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. Like that's even the same in like the motorcycle world. Like it's but we don't talk about like Pokemon cards and Lego pieces. We talk about like exhaust pipes and like intake valves and like all that kind of weird stuff that this like companies come out with. They'll make your bike sound 10 times better or 10 times faster or blah 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 blah, or the new bike that Harley's coming out with and all the specs that comes out with and all the things you can do to it to make it sound like this, to make it look like that. I feel like it's like everywhere, and it's not just in the nerdom. It's just like what you choose to put your time and energy into. And where you want to get lost in. Is
like car people as well. Like they know like the horsepower and like the engine. Yeah, like it's you can go deep into like so many things now. It's honestly quite fun, and just Legos are poison. It's so weird for me at the like as well, kind of like transitioning into this as like a full-time job, because that's like a whole other level. You go from like fan to like hobbyist. Like this is like my day job now, which is bizarre.
That was a perfect transition. Before we get into that, I am curious, like what made you like start blogging? Why did you start coming into like social media, like from Lego fandom? That's a very interesting question. Like we know where you got from one set to the other, but what made you start putting your thoughts onto the internet?
That's a good question. I think I was, in that, you're kind of new to a hobby, you're looking for information, you're looking for new stuff. And I was trying to look for like, trying to read like set reviews, trying to, learn about what's coming out next. And I couldn't really find like, sites or places on the internet. And this is like 2011, 2012. And I couldn't really find content that I like enjoyed reading or found useful myself. And I also wanted to kind of contribute to that as well, because I was thinking of like, they could be like dozens of people like me who want to find out what the latest like minifigure is and how it looks, how to feel for them. So I just wanted to kind of like put it out there in the internet to help others like me as well.
So now fast forward about a decade later, why full time? Because you're full time now. I guess congratulations on that move.
Yeah. So I officially have been doing this for close to a year right now. The it's a funny story because if you had asked me, like people asked me like 2-3 years ago, oh, you're gonna quit your job and do Lego full time, I would always just laugh in your face, and I'm like, nah, this is just a hobby. I'm just doing this for fun. But then the pandemic happened, and truth be told, I got really burnt out at my job because I was working like a really intense job. I was working like 50-60 hours a week. Like it was a lot of pressure. And 2020 happened. We started working from home. Like life just kind of slowed down a little. And I was like, this is not sustainable because I was just like miserable. I was just tired all the time. And my son was born in 2021. And it was completely different because he was like a pandemic baby. So I was home a lot more. I could kind of see him grow up. And I was like, this is quite nice. I kind of enjoy being a lot more present and not kind of stuck in that like corporate hellhole world. And I was like, I need to make a change. So for me, I technically still consider myself as, being on a break, because I was like, I just needed to like quit my job for a while just to kind of like, I would say like heal and kind of like recover and, kind of do Lego on the side to just kind of keep things afloat. So yeah, it kind of just transitioned from there. And I was like, okay, if I want to do this full time, I got to think about how I monetize this, how I kind of, because it's different because I'm in my like mid 30s. I've got a family that I support. It's, if I were in like my 20s, I could go, okay, I'm just going to, give Lego a shot, just kind of do this for 2 years and see how it's going. Whereas I had to take a completely different route because I had to like look at my day job and go, okay, I'm making this much. I need to bring in this much to pay for like the mortgage and for the bills and everything. And I had to kind of like see if I could get to that level. And that was, a lot of what I did in like 2021 to see if I could actually do it and do it consistently, if that makes sense.
No, that makes perfect sense. So obviously there's money in making in doing blogs.
Yep.
Because there's got to be some sort of monetary value in that. Yep. And you're making enough to be able to sustain yourself and your family and continue the hobby, which is, that just proves that you're doing pretty well and there is relevance in what you're doing.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Like previously I was just happy that, any money I make could kind of like support my hobby. But now it's a completely different equation because like I need to like, run a sustainable business and do it consistently as well, which is the challenge because, so much of like the internet is like changing and there's a lot more competition. So it's a very different mindset that I'm still, like, to be honest, I'm still getting used to.
And it's always changing still.
All right. So the goal is to get people to continue to visit your site, right? Do you think like doing other things as well, like in the social media atmosphere, might help as well? Like trying to like dive into it harder?
Yeah, I think it's important. So I've got like, a couple of thousand followers on like Instagram, a couple of thousand on like TikTok as well. I'm pretty active on like Twitter. I just think it's important to be kind of present wherever Lego fans are. I do have a YouTube page, but man, videos are tough.
That's what I was trying to get at. I was trying to like harpoon that to see if you'd bite any of those questions. Like, do you think you're gonna be doing YouTube videos?
I do have a YouTube channel.
Yes.
But again, like it's, I only have so much time in a day. And even if I'm doing this full time, like my primary channel is my blog. Like Instagram is fun. TikTok is fun. It's good for like the brand so that my stuff is out there being seen by people. But the core is the website. That's the, I can't just lose focus on that and, go off into like TikTok land because, it's just not there.
Yes. I think most creators that we've brought on here, there's a primary focus, whether that be here or the other. There's also a primary goal focus. Like they want to be on this platform more than the other, and they're bringing their audience over and whatnot. But it's very interesting to find one creator like yourself who is using all three to bring to a blog. So I think that's a first for us. Whereas everybody's trying to put it on YouTube. At least like all the short form contents are put on YouTube. Most of the YouTubers are trying to like just grow YouTube. You're the first to kind of bring everybody this way.
Yeah, well, there's a few others like me. So a lot of people do some really good work as well. Like Brickset, Brickset's a resource, but they're also they also produce really good editorial content. You've got people like New Elementary who kind of focus on like new parts and new elements. So there's quite a few. There's quite a few of us oldies,
But
out
they're
there.
definitely like resources. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
They're all
they're databases.
based. It's kind of, you know how the majority of like YouTube is just people like looking and being like, how do I change a tire or whatever it is, or like how do I, you know, grill a piece of chicken? And it's almost like that's like where the blogs are, right? It's like when you need kind of an immediate response, you don't want to dig through like a lot. And that's what all three of those, at least to me, like that's how I use that. You know, your website, Brickset, and Tips and Bricks. I think if I look on my tabs, it's basically what you see, especially because I'm like mock building right now or whatever, you know. So I want to know what, and Bricklink too, even, you know, even Bricklink itself is that website that we pull information from, even if we're not shopping, right? Because it's got like all the statistics and the data in terms of like prices over the years and what parts are in sets. And so I think they're kind of, it's like if you're writing a Lego research paper, that's where you go first.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. True. I think there's opportunity for even people like ourselves to be able to create not a blog, but like some sort of website format just to like put a stamp of like permanence into the world, especially when you buy a domain name and you just hold on to that, which is a hard thing already on its own. But shout out to like Good Morning Brick World for creating a site, you know, and like I feel like a lot of people are going back into like the website form just to have, not necessarily to focus on as a main thing, but as an anchor of if you need to Google us, you know, our YouTube videos are not the only thing that's going to pop up. Like our Instagram thing is not always going to pop up. There's going to be a home base for you to be able to touch all of them, like a link tree, but like more formal and more solidified.
Yeah, and I think I like the idea of having a website because it's something that you own and you're not at the whims of like algorithms. Like they could like ban TikTok tomorrow in the US. I think they're talking about it, and that's a big risk. That's a huge risk.
Yeah, it's already banned in all like government devices.
Yeah, exactly. Like YouTube could, I don't know, like switch from like long form to like, all right, we're just fully a short platform right now because we need to compete with TikTok. And for like, you know, that to me is a big risk. Like websites have risks as well because, you know, with like, I don't know, like AI and like Chat GPT, like, you know, I could be obsolete in like 5 years, man.
That came up for Google. The Google's worried about Chat GPT. So there is a genuine fear for you with that. Of AI.
Yeah, I think so. Like if you've played with it, like, you know,
I've been playing with it. It's so scary.
You know, I've tried to like, hey, write a review about this Lego set, and it spits out like a full-blown review.
This is a Brickmania set right here, like the Osprey that I'm currently working on. I have the Lego one that's above me right there. The context of my next video is ChatGPT, but like I literally asked it to write a comparison between Brickmania's Osprey versus Lego's Technic Osprey. And it spit out the most concise thing that I've ever seen, like just made. It almost felt like an intentional writing article. But like, you know, there's no fluff, but there's no personality. It's very dry. So, you know, but this is just like beta stages of what this is.
But also it's a review. A lot of people want like a little bit of dryness. You know what I mean? That's what's
exactly.
Yeah.
So,
but like people are using it for like YouTube scripts as well. So, you know, again, it's not just websites that are impacted. Like I think like BuzzFeed just announced that they were going to trial AI. Like all these big news like publications and websites, they're, you know, starting to incorporate AI into their work. So
like TV shows have already incorporated it in for a while. You know what I mean? There's like, I feel like just a bunch of the Netflix shows are just AI written at this point.
Right? It's completely wiping out the writer. So, you know, for someone who's like fully invested into it, like you, that's a worry. But I don't know. There's still something about like, you know, there's a reason why like, you know, our at least the United States military isn't fully invested into drone warfare in the sky. Like we need fighter pilots up there because there's a difference between instinct and like, you know, like just knowing like the eye of the human is so much more and so has so much more value than the picture in the end of it, just like an actual artist. So I feel like although it's a scare, you know, there's something different. Like I think like value is still gonna be worth more from when it comes from a painter's hand or a writer's mind than it will like, you know, an AI.
Yeah. You're not going to trust an AI with the nukes, you know, Shai. I don't think anyone wants that.
No, we don't want that. We'd all die. I saw that movie back in the 90s. But no, but that's the thing. So like, you already have a lot at this point, at least speaking for myself, like going against you, right? I mean, I feel like a lot of bloggers feel the same way. Like you have to adapt with the times, and it's not like where, what else can you do to bring yourself like into like YouTube? It's like you're using those to bring it to yourself, like into a writing format. And it's not just that, but you're bringing like, who here is like, you're in a room right now with people who are watching a movie and be like, who wants to read this magazine when everyone paid for a movie?
Yeah, so like it's still in the digital, like ever changing digital landscape, but I feel like just having a domain, having a place that I can kind of call home, like is kind of helps, because even if like Google changes, everyone switches over to Bing or Alta Vista or Ask Jeeves, you can always just type in like jsbrickblog.com and you can find my website, you can find like my content. So it's kind of nice that way to have a space on the internet that you can call your own.
Yeah, I think that's a major plus for blogs and sites for sure. Plus, you have complete control of it.
Complete control-ish, yeah. And and like you guys talk a lot about like creators making a full-time career or a part-time career on YouTube, and you can monetize blogs as well. So there's alternative pathway to potentially making this a career.
What's cool is like also it's a different side of you, especially if you do have a knack for writing there. And if you want to have successes on the different platforms, like maybe that long form content, maybe that's where you keep it, or that's where maybe you get a little bit more specific. If you're a creator that like just like feels like there's something to get out, there's no reason to not have that. There's like, I don't know. I was just thinking like there's still a lot of websites that I go to and check for like just different updates, and it's separate from Lego. You know what I mean? Like I'm definitely a user, like a blog user. Not as much as I used to be. Like I used to, what was it, like Blog Lovin' was like the website you used to go to, and where it would collate all of your blogs that you followed, and you could basically see all the new posts in one space. I love that. That was great. I can't tell you last time I used something like that.
Yeah. And like things like newsletters are big right now. Some people are creating newsletters again because there's that one-to-one communication where you're not at the whim of like an algorithm. Things like Substack is big now. Substack is like a new like blogging service, but a lot of people are on it. A lot of journalists, a lot of content creators are on it.
I was gonna say journalism is really like the only way for it to survive is that way. Like if like the New York Times or Skim or all of these things, like most people consume that content through a newsletter, and then they click on, and then it directs them to the site, and then they can keep clicking from there. And but yeah, absolutely. I think the newsletter is absolutely key. I wonder what's next, because I feel like we're getting to like a breaking point though of being inundated with just like absolute so much spam and promotional emails that it's like really hard to filter through that. And so I just, it feels like there's got to be something else there needs to be another medium that takes you to the website.
Yeah, I think, at the end of the day, it just comes down to the content that you put out. I think if you put out content that is valuable, that people find authentic and useful, you will be able to find an audience. Like, because people are looking for like good content. Even like starting out on like YouTube or TikTok, people want to find like the next big creator, the next big talent. And, they're going to come because of, a new format, a new style, and better production value. So it comes down to producing good content, and that's the only way you can kind of win in this space.
Are you giving yourself like a timeline? Just curious, before you need to get back into the grind of the 9 to 5, or are you like very confident to know that you're going to be sustaining the lifestyle that you want, doing what you love?
Ask me again in like a year, maybe. But in all honesty, I think I'm lucky enough that my day job is relevant to my current job. So I work in digital marketing and social media. So the work that I'm doing right now is transferable, and I still consult and help out some of my old contacts with like work and projects when I have the capacity to. So this whole blog thing goes south if the chat GPT AI kind of takes over, I can always go back to my day job, hopefully.
it's going to be interesting to see like where blogging goes in the next couple years, because like again, like I said, when I was researching or reading all these things on both online and on YouTube, there was still optimism in all of it. There wasn't like it's over. And none of them said that by the end of the video. It's just like, no, we just got to think of different ways to be more creative and bring people to our sites and stuff like that. And you know, even with AI, you know, that's just another bump in the road and challenge to one, either incorporate into what you're doing, or you know, as just something that you just have to deal with as it comes through.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, it comes down to like brand, like, and the writer or the personality behind you know any site. Yeah, because there's trust. I've been doing this. I've been writing for like over 10 years. You know, people know, kind of have a good sense of what I like, what my style is. And you know, in a way, I'm kind of glad that I went with a personal kind of like website, like, you know, Jay's Brick Blog, as opposed to D Brick Blog or A Brick Blog, because then people come to like Jay. You know, it's a way to kind of differentiate myself from, you know, everyone else, because you get to know my personality, you get to know my tastes, you get to know how I'll kind of dissect a topic, and you know, you kind of build that sense of like quality that every time you come to the site, you'll get, you know, a substantial bunch of new articles to read.
Well, yeah, too, and that's a good way to combat AI, because we're not here to listen to some computer generate your thoughts. We're literally coming to see what you yourself has, you know, feeling about whatever is going on in Lego world set or macro scale. So
it's like the TikTok like robot voice, like, you know, you see some
people using that.
with the robot voice, but at the end of the day, it's the personality that, you know, that people keep coming back to, because you can do the robot voice, but so you know, so can dozens of other, you know, content farms, or, you know, people wanting to kind of rapidly grow an account. And what differentiates you is, you know, who you are and what your perspective is on things.
Have you ever thought about outsourcing some of your work, like on the other platforms, to help build those to bring to your site? I'm just curious. That just came up in my head right now.
That's hard. I'm a perfectionist, and I have a very kind of like very specific vision of the kind of content that I want to create. I do have a contributor that helps out with like guest reviews and some content on the blog, because, you know, I want to be able to, you know, put out a lot of good content, but I trust that person. So he helps me with like things like Star Wars reviews and like Speed Champions, because I'm, you know, interested in all this other stuff. So it's taken me a while, but I'm not going to say no to that. It's just finding the right person and, you know, being able to trust that person to help out with all the other stuff. So yeah, that's something on my mind, because again, like, I'm running a business, you know, I do want to kind of grow this, and a part of that is scaling up and freeing up my time so that I get to, you know, do the stuff that.
And that's the thing. Time is very valuable, especially, you know, as a parent with young children. Like, you don't want to be like literally on this. Like, I personally just don't sleep, but that's just me. But like, you know, for the average person, like, you know, time spent with family, time spent out in the world, time spent actually enjoying the hobby is, you know, it starts to become hard to reach when you're in it 24/7. All the large creators out there, and no matter what platform that they're on, they have a team, you know, or at least one or two people. I mean, there's a lot of, you know, creators out here, at least on the YouTube space, who have an editor now, who have like other people that kind of put in their thoughts or, you know, their skills to work, and it's helping them. Obviously you have creative control over what happens, but, you know, it's not a bad idea, and that's cool to see that you know, you're actually practicing some of that. It's kind of, I know, I get it, it's a little hard to let go sometimes, but I feel like, you know, it's necessary, especially when you like you just said right now, it's a business at this point. You know, you need it to make some money to be able to move on.
But at the same time, like, for me, like, having a really personal touch as well is really important. So, you know, again, I could like hire writers, I could, you know, run reviews through like ChatGPT, just to churn out content, but that's just not what I'm about. So, you know, for me, it's finding the right balance to do that.
Between the content creation, the editing, and whatever, there's, you know, you got to find that, like, whatever that slot of, you're like, you know what, this task I don't need to do, or something, like, you know, there's always something, right? It's just like stopping and thinking about it, which none of us ever seem to have time to do.
Truth.
My daughter is 6. She helps out with all my Lego Friends sets, which is
Good.
great. I get
That is-
outsource
There you
all the
go.
building to
So
her.
that was nonsense before. You absolutely are already outsourcing. It's just it's just in-house. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. She's in the family business.
Yeah, that works, right? This is all bread on the table, and it's a community effort at this point.
Wife helps
So-
out with disassembling sets. You know, it's
Oh, and yeah, that's absolutely. I was gonna say, I feel like there's certainly, like, you know, does the personal touch need to be in disassembling sets? You know, probably not. So that's perfect.
yeah. My wife is on payroll, so
Ah,
she gets paid.
Perfect.
if only I can convince my wife to do the same. That doesn't really work with her. She's like, that's your problem. But okay, well, I mean, I hope Jay's Brick Blog lasts throughout, you know, the decade and forth and going forward. I mean, I personally love the site. I refer to it when I need to, and it's something, like I said, I like hard text. Like, I read books.
It doesn't sound like it's at risk, Shy. I don't know why you're like coming.
I don't know, because like I said,
Yeah,
I like
still going
literally
strong.
before this episode, I took a hardcore dive into
Yeah,
like,
I
the
think
blogging world.
you exactly searched for, you know, what you were looking for. I feel like you're spending too much time on TikTok, Shy.
Zero TikTok time.
Oh,
This is on
well.
YouTube and Google. But no. But ChatGPT is something that I am not concerned about so much for myself, but just like I know it's a problem with people within that community because it literally writes the stuff for you. But you know, I'm not worried about it for you because, like I said, it's people are going to your site specifically for your thoughts and not some computer.
Yeah.
So I think it's gonna push forward. I would love to see you in like more in other platforms, just because, you know, like personally, I can see you. You know, I can see your face and your thoughts, but I do appreciate what you do for the entire Lego community because, you know, there's not that many of them, at least notable.
No, thank you. I really appreciate it. That's very kind of you to say. I am trying to put myself out there on like Instagram, but again, you know, it comes down to balance. But again, I'm really enjoying that part of it as well. So maybe like I keep telling myself that I want to do more YouTube because I find the creative challenge interesting. But again, it comes down to time. You know, I don't know, hire a videographer, editor to help because that's a completely different skill set. That is hard to do. That is hard to do.
That's an outsource that works to your benefit. I'm just saying. No, but like I said, great job. Keep doing it. Lego supports you, the company. So you got to pat yourself on the back for that one. We support you. Before we like end the night for the episode, does anybody else have anything to say? Is there anything you want to plug, Jay?
Just plugging the website. Head over to jaysbrickblog.com. Follow me on social at jayong28 or jaysbrickblog on TikTok. And yeah, thanks so much for the support. I really appreciate it. And yeah, thanks for having me.
All right. Hey, Ninja, you want to roll us out?
Roll that music. With that being said.
Ninja fell asleep on the wheel. Come on, bro.
Thanks, guys. This was fun. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I would say that was
Thanks,
really
Jay.
fun. I think it's almost even more exciting because, well, at least for me, because you don't make like video content, we get to like actually see you on a different format. You know what I mean? It's like, it's kind of fun.